This is the United States-Canada land border in Vancouver. Starting midnight on Friday, March 20th, this border was closed for all non-essential travel, for the first time since the Canadian Confederation in 1867. This was only one of the many historic measures governments across the world are taking to fight the spread of COVID-19. In just a short time of over 3 months, the novel coronavirus has spread to 177 countries and infected over 650,000 people, killing over 30,000. In contrast, the H1N1 flu pandemic of 2009, which is popularly known as the swine flu, is estimated to have infected 700 million to 1.4 billion people, killing only 18,000. This was because the risk of developing a serious illness due to the H1N1 flu was not greater than the risk of yearly seasonal flu. But the current COVID-19 has already proven to be many times deadlier than the seasonal flu, especially devastating older people and people with underlying health conditions. In this context, the measures being taken by all the governments across the world make perfect sense. However, even a perfect response might not be adequate in ensuring the end of this pandemic. As long as the virus is still present somewhere on the planet, there's always a chance that one infected traveler will reignite fresh outbreaks in countries that have already extinguished their fires. Due to this risk, there are 3 possible outcomes to the way the COVID-19 pandemic may come to an end. The first possibility is that every country manages to simultaneously bring the spread of the virus to a halt. This was the kind of response we saw during the outbreak of SARS in 2003. Syndromic surveillance, prompt isolation of patients, strict enforcement of quarantine of all contacts, and in some areas, community-level quarantine helped eradicate SARS. However, various other factors ensured that isolation was effective in controlling the spread of SARS. One of those factors is the difference in the infectious period between SARS and COVID-19. Peak viral shedding for SARS occurred when the patients were very ill and developed respiratory symptoms, making identification and isolation of patients effective in eradicating the disease. In the case of COVID-19, even people who are asymptomatic and feel perfectly fine have been found to be capable of transmitting the virus. This can be clearly seen from the difference between the number of cases for SARS and COVID-19 so far. While SARS infected over 8,000 and killed about 750 in 8 months, COVID-19 infected over 650,000 people and killed over 30,000 within a short period of over 3 months. Given how widespread the COVID-19 pandemic has gotten thus far, and how badly many countries are faring in being able to contain the spread of the virus, the odds of a worldwide synchronous control seem extremely small. The second possibility is that the virus does what some of the past flu pandemics have done. It spreads through the world and leaves behind enough survivors who developed immunity that the virus eventually struggles to find viable hosts. This is called herd immunity. This was exactly what happened during the Spanish flu in 1918, which reportedly infected about 500 million people, killing 20 to 50 million. Lack of effective vaccines or antiviral drugs in 1918 meant that people infected by the virus either died or developed immunity. Since COVID-19 is proving to be more transmissible and fatal than the seasonal flu, a herd immunity scenario would leave behind millions of corpses and a trail of devastated health systems. The United Kingdom initially seemed to consider this herd immunity strategy before backtracking when models revealed the dire consequences. Due to the economic impacts of the COVID-19, the US now seems to be considering this as well. The third possibility is that the world plays a long game of whack-a-mole with the virus, suppressing outbreaks until a vaccine can be produced. This is the best option, but also the longest and most complicated, as the process of developing a vaccine from scratch, testing, figuring out dosages, and finally manufacturing on a large scale and supplying will potentially take over 12 to 18 months. This is the reason why it is extremely important for each and every one of us to be practicing social distancing and following the measures being prescribed by governments so we can suppress the current outbreak and save potentially millions of lives before a vaccine comes out.